Good afternoon, ladies. This is James Ramos from At the Quarter Pole, and here's some informational tidbits. It's going to the 2026 horse racing season. And I could see starting out with the early Kentucky Derby favorite, Ted Noffey. Well deservedly, he beat my horse Brant by over a length and a half. And congratulations to Ted Noffey. But the early wagering morning pools are going to look really, really low at odds from 4 to 5 to 6 to 5. And most of your handicappers know this is a can't take win bet or any kind of propositional bet might be okay in the superfecta coming for the for Saturday in May. But right now it's way too early to see what might turn out for the 2026 Kentucky Derby. But right now, Ted Noffey is odds-on favorite. Any early morning pools in the Kentucky Derby wagering pools, I should say. The first major prep race was the juvenile for 2-year-old colts that was won by Ted Noffey. Now the next big stepping stone will be the Remsen Stakes at Aqueduct, and that is a very good race. It's been productive. Horses like Thunder Gulch has come out of that race and won the Kentucky Derby, paying well at $42. And also, just a couple of years ago, Sierra Leone and Dornoch fought head and head in that race, and the winner was Dornoch, who won next year's Belmont Stakes. And as you know, Sierra Leone became the Breeders' Cup champion of last year in the Classic. Now, onto what I see right now going into the horse racing season is a two-horse clash. Now, this is going pertaining to the Breeders' Cup Classic. When I see two horses, I think that everybody knows what I'm thinking. Right now, the owners and connections Forever Young have already mapped out and they strategized their season going toward the 2026 Breeders' Cup Classic that's going to be held at Keeneland Park. Now, the way they see it, it's going to be this carbon copy as it was done for last year for Forever Young, who won the the Saudi Cup. He'll be running the Saudi Cup and Dubai World Cup. From there, I'm not sure. That race, the Saudi Cup, will be held late in February, as Dubai Cup will be held late in March, so about a month after. I don't see this horse, as well he is, to be taxing that many miles back and forth and running to Keeneland for the Breeders' Cup Classic. But that is their aim, that is their goal, to try to repeat as champion. And I think that may be a kind of a detriment to Forever Young, all the taxing miles. Not to say he's not a great horse, he's a great horse, but the taxing of the many miles. And this, honestly, ladies and gentlemen, this looks like a two-horse race between right now, and I know it's way early, but this is my notes. I just was jotting down notes and trying to figure out what's going to transpire in 2026. The Sovereignty and the Forever Young race that we were about to see just this couple of weeks ago will be now in the fourth shadow right now, starting at Keeneland Park. Sovereignty will have the less taxing of miles traveling around. I see that Bill Nye will try to send his horses to Stephen Foster, might be his first race out, then to either the Whitney Stakes or the Chocolate Cup, Gold Cup, because this horse is finally going to be run on the East Coast, finally getting us a break away from the West Coast tracks. We're going to have this year's coming up, the 2026 season, Breeders' Cup going to be held at Keeneland. 2027 will be held at the brand new Belmont Park in 2027. So how I see it right now, it's way early, but Sovereignty will defeat Forever Young in the Classic. It's a year away. This is my analysis, just because all the miles are going to put on Forever Young's legs. It didn't bother them the year before or the year before that, but I think all those miles are finally going to catch up to them if they hold sway. If both Sovereignty and Forever Young run in the 2026 Breeders' Cup Classic, my money's on Sovereignty this year, just because the taxi miles on Forever Young. I love Forever Young. I'm not going to go and be a hypocrite and say I don't like the horse. I love the horse. I do also love Sovereignty. They'll do battle in Keeneland at that mile 1/4 and given a big edge to Sovereignty to win the race. Also, in horse racing news that I like to report, that's already been reported, just the plethora of scratches that were held at the Breeders' Cup at Del Mar. It was just really weird thing. It had two horses coming out of the mile race where Nisos won, and he just barely won by a nose, beating his stablemate Citizen Bull, where Juan Barrio was scratched about 2 minutes before the race. As a lot of people who watch these videos know, that Juan Barrio was one of my plays in that race, one of my picks in that race. Mystic Dan got scratched the day before. Now, the track veterinarians have been there with the horses all week and a half. And I know horses get sick from day to day. It's kind of weird how they just magically disappear like with minutes in the post, days before post. You go on major other days of major horse racing where they have a big card like on Saturday at other tracks. You don't see them just get wiped out or disappear. Precise got scratched in the Philly turf race, 6-5 favorite. And you got to remember, a lot of these horses that were scratched were a lot of key contenders. Precise 6-5. White and Barrio was 8-1. Mystic Down was at 5-1. All scratched out race. Those other horses that were also scratched out. There was a horse on the Breeders' Cup turf that got scratched. Was one of the favorites at 5-1. I don't forget his name right now, but it was just a ton of top contenders that were scratched out. Now you figure, and the reason why I'm making this point is we figure why these horses never show any kind of unsoundness in their whole career. I'm talking about even White and Barrio, that's going to be a 7-year-old that have all the racing behind him, doesn't really get injured. Neither Mystic Dan is because he worked a 48-4 at Keeneland Park. It looked really well, and then automatically just scratched out. It's hard to digest all that. There's certain horses like Nisos that just barely walks on the track and he's injured. As we know this, I'm not picking fun of the horse or the trainer or the owner. I'm just saying making facts. Horse is out every year, but he was able to make it to Breeders' Cup Mile and win the race by a nose. So I think there's something not kosher about it. I'm not going to impugn any of the veterinarians' work. That's not my job here. I'm just reporting notes and what I've seen as a fan and as a handicapper, knowing that in all the years I've been playing, and it just doesn't seem like that was very, I don't know, how would I say it? I just didn't make sense. All these good horses were scratched the day of or the day before after making it out to Del Mar. And also a lot of these good horses have been off the shelf for 2 to 3 months, meaning all they have been doing has been resting. It was bad enough seeing Sovereignty spike a fever. I mentioned that. Bill Mott explained that his horse got medication. He spiked a fever again. Hopefully that does not transcend into the 2026 Breeders' Cup from Keeneland, and I seriously doubt that's going to happen again. If not, there's going to be more questions going to be asked about the tri-veterinarian or what's going on with these horses. Also, leading into the 2026 season, the second used to be my second best favorite day of racing after the Breeders' Cup used to be the opening day at Santa Anita. Not so anymore because the smaller fields now at the Santa Anita with 5 or 6 horses, hard to really gauge a good price. Even if you got a good semi-favorite, you're not really getting its true value. Now the second best day for gambling after the Breeders' Cup is definitely Pegasus Cup. I know a lot of people, they've been at it for almost a decade. True, but I've noticed the Pegasus Cup at Gulfstream Park has gotten way better. Now they offer more money, bigger fields, and more competitive racing. So now, unfortunately, the second biggest day after Breeders' Cup is not at San Anita Park and opening day on the 26th of December. Now it's going to be at Pegasus Cup at Gulfstream Park, and I'll be fully loaded for that day, ready to give you my analysis of my picks once that time comes around. I believe that Pegasus Cup for 2026 will be run a couple of weeks after my birthday. I believe that's January 24th, and I'll be all geared up for that. This is my notes for today on Sunday, November 9th, and I just like to wish everybody to have a prosperous Christmas, Happy New Year. This is James Ramos from At the Quarter Full, where winning and history run neck and neck. Have a good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen.